because people like to think that your journey starts when you're diagnosed, but no, it actually starts after your diagnosis. And I come up with, and I prayed about it, and I come up with Matthew 5, um, uh, 14 through 16. And in that verse, it stated, "You are light from the world. You are light for the world." And I see myself as a light, and this is why I'm telling you my story. So you are a light for the world. A city cannot be hidden when it is located on a hill. I see myself on the hill looking down at you guys. No one lights a lamp and put it under a bucket. Instead, everyone who lights a lamp puts it on the lampstand. So I'm standing in front of y'all. The light shines on everyone in the house, and in the same way, let your light shine in front of people. Then they will see the good that you do and the praise, and which is what I'm doing right now. I'm praising God because I'm healed. I used to ask myself, why me? And I turned and I said, why not me? Because I'm the perfect person for this. So I thank him. He is so good to me. This is the time when you know who's got your back when you're going through something. And God never failed me. Being in Columbus, Georgia alone and seeing that my mom is here on this journey, this is beautiful. And I thank you guys. Because at that time, you got to have faith, and you find your strength in him. So he just put these things on us so that we know that we got to turn to him. You don't turn to man, you turn to God. And I thank you for all my trials. So I say to you to say this: never judge a person on the outside, because you never know what they have going on in the inside. And I thank God I don't look like what I've been through. And I thank you. Happy Easter.
Hallelujah.
Something just had to be done. No one can do it but you. No one has been assigned to do what needs to be done but you. No one can do what can be done but you. You ever felt like the weight of the world was residing on your shoulders, and you're trying to say, how is it possible that this mission can be fulfilled or be done? Because it was given to you. And because it's given to you, it means that only you can do it. Well, Jesus, 2,000 plus years ago, did what only he could do. That was to go to the cross, travel Calvary Road, to make sure that you and I today, years later, could have an opportunity to have him in our lives. The ultimate sacrifice is what was made a long time ago. And in return, all he wants you to do is to do what he called you to do. Well, thank you for joining here today at the Tabernacle, where we say that the word is on and know that we love you. Come on, World Church. Let's give God a hand clap of praise. A special thanks to Sister Gina for sharing such a bold testimony and very courageous to share your journey. Sometimes we don't really know a person's story until we have heard it. And even after we hear the story, we don't sometimes comprehend that story because it's not our story. But I've come to a reality about life. We're all going to travel a journey that may be not what you want to travel, but it'll be the journey that God can get the glory. And so, darling, thank you for being so openly to share your testimony with us today. Let's bless the Lord for her again. Amen. Jesus did what had to be done. Subtitle, what will you sacrifice? Somebody say sacrifice. The word sacrifice means a surrender of something of value as a means of gaining something more desirable or of preventing some evil. Let's read it again. A surrender of something of value as a means of gaining something more desirable or of preventing some evil. In the book of Matthew 26, verse 38 to verse 39, King James Version says, Then said he unto them, My soul is exceedingly sorrowful, even unto death. Tarry ye here and watch with me. Somebody say watch. And he went a little further and fell on his face and prayed. This is Jesus, saying, O my Father, if it be possible, let this cup pass from me. Nevertheless, not as I will, but as thy will. I want you to kind of put a spot right there on that particular part. He says, if it be possible, if that's an alternative to this situation, let this cup pass from me. Nevertheless, as what? Nevertheless, as thy will, but as thy will. Not as I will. See, he immediately addressed himself. He said, not as I will, but as thy will. We're so quick to say, Lord, let your will be done. Whatever you want to do, God, in this season of my life, do it, God. And God says, in this season, I want you not to do you. In this season, I want you not to be about you. In this season, I want you to let me be God and you just be my creation. Even though you have a thought of how it could be done differently and how you have an assumption the way it's supposed to be. But remember, the word assumption has 3 letters in there that you need not be. Now, I know somebody's going to write that word down and figure out what I'm saying. You got it? So when God placed something inside of you that has to be done only by you, there is no alternative to the plan but to do God's plan. Because you must remember, you made this acknowledgement, Lord, whatever you want to do in this season of my life, however you want to use me, Lord. Whatever you want to do, whoever you want to use, if you want to use me, Lord, I'll be your vessel. And right when it's time to be that vessel, to do what only you have been assigned to do, is it possible that he could be the one? Here's Jesus, the Son of God, has an assignment to come to earth in place of sacrifice, because we find out that he's in this position, and in the position he's in at this very moment, before his death, he's having an encounter with the Father. He's talking to his dad like never before. Right. And he's saying, Father, this is a lot. In fact, I would say he even went to the point to say, this is more than what I was bargaining for. Right. Maybe he had an experience when you're going through, the devil always shows up. Anybody witness that? When you're in the middle of your storm, Satan shows up. And he always shows up with an alternative plan. Telling you what God may not want you to do. Telling you what you need to do differently. But you already know what God told you to do anyway. But because we want to hope there's a gray area or a loop in this situation, we start listening to that voice that tells us something totally different than we already know. How many know you already know what you're supposed to be doing? You can call the cows in. You know what you're supposed to be doing. But we want to do what we normally do as people, is trying to do it our way because we don't want to do it that way, because that way was more than what we bargained for. So let's work on a new plan. Let's get plan B. There's no plan B to God's plan A. There's no plan B to God's plan A, because there's no more letters past A when God called you that letter A. Though you're looking for B, but B doesn't exist because God told you to stay with the A. Tell your neighbor, leave the B's alone. I didn't mean for it to come out sounding like. So whoever you said that to that you have a problem with, you need to repent of that right now. Good Lord, good Lord. I may just go and do like Prophet Sandy did Friday. Go ahead and just go Baptist mode. Just start hollering. He got up. That 4.5 sister stood up. It was a short pulpit. She's still under the pulpit, but she did a great job. But I want you to see here. I want you to see it quickly, because I know it's Easter and some of y'all go get your eggs and stuff. I don't want to hold you up. But is it ironic? Eggs seem to taste different on Easter. Yeah, that's plan B. Yeah, eggs seem to taste has a different flavor. Still the same gag, but it's different flavor. But Jesus says, he said, Father, if it be possible at this moment, he's saying, Lord, because of what I'm looking at and because of what I'm hearing, what I'm seeing, is there a way we can come back to the table and discuss another plan? Because there's a gap between him saying possible, but then going to say nevertheless. That's a pause, meaning it didn't have a comma. It had a period, meaning there's a space of time where there was maybe a negotiation that we don't know of, but that was taking place between the Father and the Son, where he said, okay, Dad, nevertheless. Yeah. And sometimes he don't even answer you because you already know. You like asking your spouse for something that you already know the answer to. Then you realize, whatever. Because there's something about the plan that we have to stick to in order for it to work. I want you to look at Hebrews chapter 10, verse 3 to 7. This is very important. This is NIV version. I wrote it this way so you can understand it more with clarity. Look at Hebrews chapter 10, verse 3 to 7. But remember in Matthew, Jesus himself is having the conversation with the Father about the situation that he's dealing with. Meaning, for that moment, it was just complicated. Sometimes your life is complicated. Yeah. Sometimes you have complex issues that cannot be resolved with someone else's counsel. Right. It's just a matter of time that you just got to do what's going on in the complexity of it and say, God, I'm going to trust you for the outcome. Yeah. Because I have been assigned for this very moment. Yeah. So this is how I would say Jesus did, Mary, is that moment he says, nevertheless, thy will be done. Because the Father was no longer discussing the matter anymore. That's something he's not going to discuss with you anymore until you do it. That's right. Even though you're trying to figure out another plan, you listen to your associates or people, and yet God is saying something totally different that you already know, and now you have to come to a decision. I'm going to do God's will. Right. And doing God's will is easier said than done. It's easy to say I'm going to do the will of the Lord, but when it's time to do the will, now your will's in the way, because the will of God is different than your will. Right. Because your mind said, this is going to be an easy thing to do, and then you find out it's not as easy as you thought it was. So now you got to make a decision. Will I do God's will or do mine? But notice here, Jesus starts off by denying his own will and saying, nevertheless, that will be done. Now look at Hebrews chapter 10, verse 3 to verse 7. But those sacrifices are an annual reminder of sins. It is impossible for the blood of bulls and goats to take away sins. Verse 5. Therefore, when Christ came into the world, he said, sacrifice and offering you did not desire, but a body you prepared for me. Prepare for me. A body you prepared for me, which means before I got here, this body was already designed for me to dwell in. With burnt offering and sin offering, you were not pleased. Then I said, verse 7, here I am. It is written about me in the scroll. I have come to do your will, my God. Verse 19 to verse 23 says, Therefore, brothers and sisters, since we have confidence to enter the most holy place by the blood of Jesus, by a new and living way open for us through the curtain, that is his body. Somebody say his body. His body. And since we have a great priest over the house of God, let us draw near to God with a sincere heart and with the full assurance that faith brings, having our hearts sprinkled to cleanse us from the guilty conscience and having our bodies washed with pure water. Let us hold unswervingly to the hope we profess, for he who promised is faithful. For he who promised is faithful. For he who promised is faithful. This whole chapter here help us to understand that the bulls, the sheep, the goats were not adequate enough to take away the sins of man. In fact, I think God got a revelation and said to himself, if we don't stop this slaughtering, ain't going to be no meat around no more. Because as fast as the sheep was born, they were being slaughtered. Because the sin of man was so great that it was literally sending forth a blood smell to heaven. Because of the sacrifice that had to be made. And all of that sacrifice, it was not working. Which means God recognized that the plan he had at first was the sacrifice was not adequate enough. It was not taking away the sting of sin. It was not bringing man to redemption. It was only giving man an opportunity to sin again. He needed a living sacrifice that looked like him, that said, you can live this life because I've done it. I've gone through what you're going through now, and I've accomplished that, so if I overcame it, so can you. In other words, God's never going to place something on you that he has not gone through himself. So Jesus answered the call. He reminds himself and the Father that this mission that you got me on is that you've already prepared me for this. You've already given me what I need to dwell in to become the ultimate sacrifice for the redemption and the redeeming of mankind, because the first Adam fell and there was no redemption after that. All that was ever offered was slaughtering of animals, and even in the end, that was not enough, because sin was still not covered. But it took a real blood, a royal priesthood blood, to bring man away from him darkness into the marvelous light. And man no longer have an excuse to slaughter animal. Now man become the sacrifice himself. Therefore, if any man be in Christ, he is a new creature. Old things pass away. That has become your now living sacrifice, that you no longer do you, but you're doing him now. So you only can imagine that Jesus at this moment in the Garden of Gethsemane is facing every turmoil or torment from the enemy. He's never died before, so he don't know what death feels like. He's never been abused before, so now he's about to experience that. It's one thing to hear about something, but it's another thing to experience it. It's one thing to have heard about cancer, but it's another thing to experience it. Until you experience something that goes against the grain or your norm, only then can you identify what it feels like. So Jesus himself had to come in human form from the heaven itself to dwell that man can be delivered and be saved. And it didn't happen overnight. Jesus' trial started when he was born. Because Herod was trying to kill him then. So he was an individual already destined for death. But the death could not take place until it was time. There are some things in your life will never change until time come in place. In the meantime, you need to stay on board. You need to stay focused. You need to stay consistent. Because most time in believers, we have a tendency to sway with the storm. When things go to the left, we get discouraged so easily. Yet we say we love God. Yet we say we're committed. But as soon as you go through something, immediately you start reverting back to your old ways. You forgot about the sacrifice you made. You gave your life to Christ. You became a living sacrifice. Your old man is dead now. But what you're doing is you're participating in dead stuff to bring the dead man back. Tell your neighbor you got to be crucified for good. So Jesus, his body is prepared for him. There's a conversation in heaven way before this thing happened. And God prepared his body for Jesus. The only way we're going to be able to redeem mankind is we got to have a sacrifice that looks like them. He didn't send an angel. He sent himself and his son. He came created man, and he came to redeem man. The only way you can redeem something, you got to be that. In order to get something back of what equals to you, you had to go be it. The animals could not be the redemption for man. It took Jesus in the form of man, coming from heaven into man, that man can be redeemed by man. So your salvation is not based on bullock, but your salvation is based on what Jesus went through to die and to get on the cross that you can live again. There was no alternative to this plan. It just had to be done this way. Even though he wanted to do it differently. How many of you ever want to do something differently? But differently than going to work. It puts you back further from behind than where you could have been. Oh, you're learning something. And Jesus says, it's in the scroll of what I'm going to do. It's already in God's plan how this ain't going to work out. Is it possible for that moment that Jesus did not really know the true outcome of this situation? Okay, he says, if it's possible, let this bitter cup pass me. Yeah. He did not see all that, but he knew all that. Right. And knowing all that and not seeing all that is two different things. In other words, I have not experienced this, but the closer I get to this thing, the more real it comes. The closer I get to my end of life in this world, more reality sets in that this thing is real. And knowing I'm going to die for people who are not going to accept me, who are going to reject me, who are going to deny me, who are going to persecute me. And it wasn't the people who were not of the God that we knew of. It was the people that knew God. These weren't killed by heathens. He was killed by y'all. That say you're waiting for him to come. And he shows up, you don't even know him. See, it's one thing to be persecuted by people who you expected. But it's another thing to be persecuted by people who you least expected. Tell you, watch them folks. So in Jesus' situation, he's dealing with the reality that the people that he have laid hands on, he done prayed for, he done brought deliverance in their family, were the same people who stood aside and said, crucify him. You ever find yourself doing something for some people, and they turn around and stab you in the back? I mean, you expecting Shaquita to act a fool. You expecting her. But Sharon, you weren't expecting Sharon to do that. I mean, Sharon's name alone is innocent. But Shaquita, yeah, Shaquita, you expect her to act out. Ain't no Shaquitas in the house, is there? Well, one of them names you can't call out. You ever had somebody's name you can't put it together? Tawika? But my point is this, is there are certain people you expect to act a certain way. But when it comes down to the body of Christ and people that say they love God, who are committed to God, you do not anticipate them betraying you. You don't expect people that say they love God to treat you wrong. You expect people that love God feel about God the way you feel about God. The way you love God, you think everybody love God like that too. But then you only find out that everybody that say they love God don't love God like you love God. That's right. So you become discouraged. And then you wonder, is it really worth the price I'm paying? Was it really worth me helping them when I helped them? Did I ever helping a person? No, it was God's plan. Because somewhere down the road, they're going to remember if it had not been for you and your obedience, they wouldn't be where they are today. So your sacrifice today may not feel good, but down the road, somebody's going to benefit from it because you was obedient to the assignment and the call of your life, even though it doesn't make sense now. But down the road, they'll tell you, if you had not did that for me, I wouldn't be where I'm at today. Other words, don't be so quick to give up on people. And then when you say, Lord, use me however you want to use me, and when he starts using you, don't go back on it. Don't go back to God, can we talk again? No. We agree, use me. Although that said that, raise your hand. Yeah, okay, now you're going through. He's using you and you're through him. And don't get mad to me. I don't know why we're doing this. You know what? God called you to do this. You said, God, use me. You disturbed God. God was minding his business. He said, oh, God, whatever you want to do, use me, God. You know, people never ask the devil to use them. I don't think they do. Especially church folk. But we'll say, Lord, use me however you want to use me. I'll tell it all. I'll tell the story. I'll evangelize. I'll bring them to Jesus. I'm ready, Lord. I think I can do that. I'm a changed man. And now when the change get tested, now we want to negotiate. Because now the truth of reality sets in that in order for this assignment to be fulfilled, it has to be fulfilled through you. That means God said you're special. That means God said, I anointed you to do this. I've called you to a place only I can use you because I don't want to use them. I want to use you because you have made yourself available. And now that you're available, now let's go to the availability to make this thing happen. Why? Because if you don't do it, it won't be done. Don, I believe that's something only we supposed to do. Not mom and them. Not my pastor. There are times when you are praying for somebody that you need to pray for them. Don't text me at 2 in the morning and say, Prophet, I met a certain person, they need prayer. No, you pray. I'm sleeping. And then don't ask, are you asleep? If you text me, I am asleep. Because by the time you're trying to communicate with me, he's already telling you what you're supposed to be doing. You just want me to be a part of what you're supposed to be doing. And then when it work out good, then you go to my, look what the Lord did through me. Yeah. You didn't tell them I was a part of that. You just said what the Lord did through. He would never put something on you that you're not able to do. He'll never allow you to go through the storm and not be there with you. So whatever storm, whatever testimony that you're going through for this moment, at the end of the journey, somebody will benefit from you because it never has been about you. Christ going to the cross was for humanity. Right. Only he could go to the cross. No one had the qualification. No one had the standard. No one could be in the most perfected way than Jesus. So that Jesus has done this is amazing that people that know this are not even appreciating it. Yeah. So we celebrate Easter. We come to church on Easter. We love Easter for whatever reason, but we forget what the real meaning of Easter is. Yeah. It's not about your clothing. It's not about your hairdo. I know they don't appreciate it, but it's not about that. It's about sacrifice. It's about commitment. It's about going through the process that we all could be saved. We could. That don't mean we're all going to be. Remember, God so loved the world that whosoever, but what? We know that scripture behind me is walking in it. You got to live this thing. The world is waiting for the manifestation of the sons of God. They're never going to see the light. We keep walking in darkness. They're never going to see the reality of God if we don't start acting like we're supposed to be. There's nothing more discouraging than a mean saint. And say you love the Lord. Tell you never get it together. sacrifice every believer can make if only willing. Number one, forgive all offenses. This is where I start. If you're going to be what Jesus been and what Jesus did, if you're going to appreciate Easter, then you need to do what Easter did. How they put the bunny rabbit with the egg, I don't know. All I know this, that he forgave all offense. He became the offense, that we have no offense. So if you're going to start off doing the right way, if you're going to do what Jesus did, if you're going to appreciate what Jesus did, then forgive all offense. Whatever somebody said about you, whatever they did toward you, you are mandate of God to forgive. And forgiveness doesn't mean forget. It means I release you of a debt that you can't pay. Folks, I ain't never forgive. Well, if you don't forgive, you won't be forgiven. But Prophet, you don't know what they did to me. I don't know, but Jesus does. And you don't, and all that Jesus did for you, you can't forgive somebody for what they did to you. Maybe you stay away from them. They won't keep offending you. Tell you they forgive all offenses. That's they're not one, not single, it's plural. All. Because there are going to be more offenses going to come. He said, notice offense is going to come, but where does offense come from? So notice, people are going to offend you in the church. We all talk about church, and we never say job hurt. I got corporate hurt. You got corporate hurt, but you still go to corporate. Your church hurt, well, I think my season is up. It's amazing how we so easy to walk away from the will of God because someone said something that we don't like or someone did something that we don't appreciate. Listen, if you're going to be a follower of Jesus, know that people are going to offend you. Maybe you step back and let God get the glory out of it. It'll work out. If you offend me, I just can't do this offending stuff. But that Jesus did. He did before you got here. Number two, keep the wicked spirit of discord from dividing and conquering one another. Easter's for the church. Tell you that Easter's for the church. It is our reminder of what he did. So if it's a reminder of what he did, then we should not be divided and conquered. And when you got discord going among people in the church, it brings discouragement. So it's your responsibility as a believer. Don't let the spirit of wickedness of discord sit in the house. Other way, if your neighbor in the church talk about your other neighbor in the church, you should not be a part of that neighbor talking about that neighbor. No, one of the most successful tools Satan has used in the church is discord. Somebody don't like somebody, they don't want you to like them. Somebody did something that you don't appreciate, you want them to be a part of the team. Getting quiet now. If you got an offense with somebody, according to the scripture, you're supposed to go to them. Because if you don't go to that person directly, you take it to somebody else, you're sowing discord. And the Bible says God says he hates discord. So if you're going to be a part of Easter, don't sow discord. It's dividing and conquering. Because when we divide it, we are not successful. We give more place to the enemy when he divides us. Number three, evangelize souls. Go out and for Easter, go out and win souls. Yeah, get about your Father's business. The sacrifice you're making, that what he done for you, is going to win someone else. Jesus goes out and he tells people to follow me because he was one that could be followed. We are likewise should have people following us because we represent the follower. What he did for us, we should be able to follow the same pattern. So now that I'm saved, I should be having an appetite for lost souls. I should have a desire to go out and win people to the kingdom. Why? Somebody did it for me. The greatest sacrifice you can make on earth is to deny yourself and help somebody else. So evangelize. Tell you to be evangelized. Now, that don't mean you get a title for evangelist, to be evangelist. That means you just went out and did the Father's commission to win souls. Tell somebody, win souls. Number four. Somebody say number four. Have a righteous resolve within. See, Easter, if we're going to make it Easter, you ought to have a righteous resolve in you. Meaning, there should not be an ongoing unfaithfulness in your walk. Because when you live a righteous life, you get a righteous resolve. See, I'm in a place now, I'm receiving what I call uncommon favor. Uncommon favor is tied to my righteous living. Not saying I got to be perfect, but I'm striving for perfection. Meaning, I want my life to be pleasing before the Father because he's already proved to me it can be done. I can live a righteous life if I choose to. You can live a holy life if you choose to. It's all about choosing. It feels good to know that you don't have issues with people. Now, they may have issues with you, but it feels good on your part that you ain't got an issue with them. You ever had somebody that didn't like you, but you didn't have an issue with them? And then because you didn't get sucked in the vortex with that craziness, you feel like you're on the winning side? Well, that's called a righteous resolve. In other words, I'm not going to let your disturbed life affect my life. If you don't want to be at peace with God and peace with yourself, that's you. But for me and my house, we're going to serve. You know, and a righteous resolve means I resolve issues that try to come over my life. Yeah. See, if someone can make you mad and angry, and you feel your rage coming on, that means they're controlling you. You making me mad now. That's control. Tell you that, that's control. In all that Jesus was going through on the road to the cross, he never displayed anger. He never fought back. He stood his position. He knew what the assignment was. Because he already said earlier, he said, Father, not my will, but thy will be done. In other words, I'm going to do this the right way for them. Even though they may not all accept me, but if one accept me, it was worth going to the cross. Sacrifices have to be made. Number 5, be a true example of the kingdom. Stop talking about kingdom, start living the kingdom. See, being an example means somebody can see you and they can pattern themselves after you. You can't say you love God and then you're doing everything opposite of what love represents. If you love God, live for him. So the true example is this. I know somebody's watching me who I don't see watching me. Because it's easy to live right when people who you're comfortable with and they see you. But what other type of person are you when we don't see you? When you go out of town, how righteous is of you? When you go on vacation, how living righteous are you? So when you're an example, no matter where you are, where you go, you can be an example. A true example. Not just an example, but a true example. He said, let your light so shine before men that men may what? See your good work and glorify the Father on your back. So if we don't live an example, a true example of what Christianity represents, then we're defeated. We've seen enough of that. People come to church, shacking and racking, ain't living right, doing everything wrong, but yet we say we are an example. You cannot be an example if you're not living a righteous life. How are you going to be an example being mean as fire? You love the Lord, but you mean to everybody that come in your presence. Tell your neighbor, stop being so mean-spirited. At least for Easter. Just one day of the year, don't be mean-spirited. So a true kingdom example is this. I got to go back to the one I said earlier. If there be a discouragement or discord or offense in the body, it is your responsibility as a repair of the breach to go and fix that situation. No one can fix the offense but you. And especially if you created it. If you created the offense, it is your responsibility to fix that offense. Get mighty quiet on that one. Tell your neighbor, do the right thing. Yeah. See, and then like being an example when people thought you were going to knuckle under and show an ungodly side of you, but you stood the test. I talked to my son, Brother Bettis. When y'all tell me, so I had to tell it. And no, Brother Bettis, they got this beautiful home up in Alabama, 3 levels, almost 4. Anyway, their son celebrated his 16th birthday. How many know when you let your child have a 16th birthday celebration, it's going to go down? I could have told him, but he didn't call me about that earlier. I would have told him that. But he told me afterwards, so I'm going to tell him what he should have done. So They having their little fun time, and I get also this they want to play hide and go seek. They want to hide and go seek. Now y'all know 16-year-olds don't need to be playing hide and go seek. Yeah, do it again. Dun dun dun. I be wondering what us parents be thinking. You know, when you were 16, you was runchy and ratchet. So they're having a fun time, and Brother Betty must be downstairs. The kids are running through the house. They decide, hey, I got a good idea. Let's play hide and go seek. Me, find me. We'll talk later. But anyway, so somebody decided to go upstairs in the attic. They really were hiding. At their expense. So they go, I guess somewhere, they didn't know construction. They didn't know the difference between insulation and ceiling that doesn't have net to hold you. So they step in and bloop. Their whole leg goes through the ceiling. So Brother Betty said, oh, God, thank you, Lord. Help me, Jesus. I'm about to cuss up in here. See, he did it right. Thank you, Lord Jesus. I'm about to cuss. That means he said, God, help me from cussing up in here. And he said, another time I would have lost it. He said, but I didn't do it. See, he got it back up. He didn't do it. That tells you. And then he dressed in white, so you know he didn't do it. That's purity. That's pure. I didn't do it. I'm pure. But he felt good knowing that he didn't subject himself to what he would have done one time ago. He would have lost it, said things he didn't need to say. So now he can say, I have been an example for being in a short time in this fresh walk with God. And his wife witnessed it. I'm quite sure she said, this has to be God. Because literally, normally, it'd be on and popping up in here. Yeah. Get rewards for that. Number 6. Stop doing you and do God. Yeah. Because see, if you start practicing your way and start doing God's way, you won't get in the way. Because every time you do you always mess it up. Every time you try to push yourself before it instead of let God be in it, you find yourself holding back or delaying or hindering the progress. So stop doing you and do God. Tell your neighbor, just do God. See, when you do God, then you won't get in trouble with God. This is a short sermon. I'm going to find another to preach it anyway. But since it's Easter, I got to get ready to take you to the cross. Number 7, remain faithful until Christ's return. So this is the key thing. This is the key. See, it's one thing to live faithful at a moment where it's convenient. But it's another thing to live faithful to the end. So my faithfulness is not just temporary or temporal, it's to the end. Whatever going to come out of this situation, whatever God's going to do through this situation, I'm going to be faithful until he returns. Not to the end, till he returns. Why? Because my faithfulness defines who I am. Right. You can't be faithful temporarily. It's easy to do something temporary, expecting a long-term result. But when you can be faithful in spite of what you're going through until God returns in his way, then you have proven yourself to be worthy of Christ going. See, everything Christ did was out of faithfulness. He didn't have to go to the cross for you, darling, but he did. He didn't have to die for you, knowing that many of us were going to do what we have done and still do what we do. But he did it anyway because he so loved us that he wanted the best for us. So if God wanted the best for you, then how about having wanting the best for him? It's not like a parent giving to their children, and their children never give back to them. It's nothing more difficult and more discouraging that God gives so much of himself to us, and all he wants from you is obedience. No sacrifice, just obedience. Because obedience overrides sacrifice. Because once you're obedient, you master living a righteous life. You can live this life. You can be faithful to God. I commend you for being in church today. I commend you coming to church as you normally does, but I commend you more when you're obedient to do God's will. The Bible says time and chance befall all. Every person in life going to fall in a situation that's going to require them to make a decision. Yeah. And no decision is easy. I don't care what is proposed. It's always complicated to make certain decisions. But to decide to accept Christ in your life is the ultimate decision. Because at the end of the day, I'm going to tell you something. As a chaplain, I deal with people who are transitioning all the time. And everybody don't make it over to the other side. It's not all rest in peace for everybody. But what would you do in exchange for what Jesus done for you? What more does he have to do to prove to you that he already loved you? See, the love that God has for us, it supersedes a man loving you as a woman. It supersedes you, a woman loving you as a man. His love is genuine and it's forever. No matter what you've done or what you do, Jesus has paid the price for you. And all he wants you to do in return is accept what he's done. And not only accept it, but do what he's done. If he loves you, then you got to love the unlovable. The person that mistreats you, you still got to treat them right. The person that talks about you and scandalizes your name, you still got to talk positive about them. Why? Because two wrongs don't make a right. Yes, my flesh wants to rise and tell folks off, but I serve a God bigger than telling them off. Because I want my testimony to be always, I did it God's way and not mine. God said, Lord, not my will, but thy will be done. Can I say something? You got to exercise this thing. You got to practice what you preach. You just can't talk that you're a Christian. Be a Christian. Be a true follower of Christ that folks can see the light. And the greatest light that needs to be shown is us who are the light going to darkness and representing the kingdom. Because somebody's watching you. There are some people anticipating you to fall, but God is anticipating you to stand. So when everybody else falls on the other side around you, you remain standing and let God get the glory because why? You remember he did it and it had to be done. So what will we do for him? What decision will you make today that can make a difference in someone else's life? We all have to be in a position that we can make an impact on somebody. Somebody's looking at you. You know, I commend every believer that is serving God. But we have a people who are outside of these walls who need to see a true example of believers. Every preacher is not sleeping with the members. Every preacher ain't taking all the money from the church. Every preacher don't have a Bentley. Because sometimes people accuse us preachers of being something that we're not. Every person that comes to church is not a hypocrite. Every person that comes to church doesn't mean they don't want God. You don't come to church just to play around. I hope not. Because I come to church, I want God to do something. If you like me, I come too far to play church. I've done that. How many have done that? Don't play church. Fake it till you make it. How many have done that? And then you wake up one day, you realize that life is no joke. You got to get this thing together. You got to be an example. And now when folks thought you wasn't that, then they look back and look at you and say, it had to be God. So if God can do it for you, he can do it for somebody else. Every head bowed. I want you to take a moment to think about this. What exchange will you make? Will you make for someone else?
World Changes Tabernacle, led by Prophet Prathan Powell, is a word-based church committed to seeing you win. We're called to create a loving and caring community for all people and work together for justice and peace in our world. Recognizing that our spiritual journeys are all different, we strive to be respectful and inclusive concerning each individual's relationship with God. We believe that Christianity is a lifestyle, and we're committed to teaching, learning, and living the Word of God. It's more than a song, more than a shout, more than a dance. Whether you're a committed follower of Christ or just curious about God, you are invited to visit with us. Give us a call or check out our website for more information or to see our sermon times.